Well, hello everybody. Welcome to local church. Super glad that you are here. How's the 10:30 service feeling today? All right. Not too bad. Not great, but not too bad. All right. Well, thank you so much for spending some time at local church this morning. My name is Michael. It is always an honor to be here with you. Today, we are landing the plane of our three-part financial series called If God Was Your Financial Advisor. Tagline, 3 game-changing money tips straight from God. So in this series, if you've been with us so far, you know, we're kind of like figuratively having coffee with God and just asking him, hey, help us with this whole money management thing. Like, what do you got for us when it comes to managing finances? We want to hear from you. How is the best way that we can do this? You know, how can we win with money? Because if you're anything like I am, you know that this whole money management thing is important, right? You know, it's important. And it should be done, and it should be done well. But again, if you're anything like I am, you might be saving like the learning about it and saving the actual doing of managing your money well for later, right? Anybody, in fact, show of hands, anybody ever like at any point in your life told yourself, I'll figure out the whole money stuff later? Anybody? All right, a few of you, yes, all right. Like when I get married, then we'll get this all taken care of. Or maybe after I graduate college, then I will get my finances in order. Maybe for you is like once I finally get out of debt, or once I finally get that high-paying job that I've always wanted, or once I move to North Carolina or Florida or South Carolina or wherever New Yorkers are moving these days. Then, you know, once I'm living in a place that's not so expensive, then I'll figure out the whole money stuff. Whatever. But if you're anything like I am, you know, you might be waiting till sometime in the future to actually get going with your finances. For me, for the longest time, I would tell myself, I will figure this all out when I finally become an adult. When I finally become a grown-up, that's when we'll get the whole money stuff figured out. But the problem is, I still don't feel like an adult. Like, I don't know when that feeling comes, you know. I don't know. I have like a couple of gray hairs. I get back pain every now and then. I still don't feel like an adult though. Like, so I don't know when exactly. In fact, Emily and I were driving to Tennessee this past week to go spend Thanksgiving with my family. It was great. And she turned to me at one point and she's like, do you think we're adults now because we got our own Easy Pass for this? And I was like, maybe that's what it is. We're no longer borrowing our parents' Easy Pass. So maybe that's what makes us an adult. I don't know. Oftentimes, I mean, we've had like the privilege of starting a church and pastoring a church, which has been amazing. And many of you, some people will come up to me and they'll ask me for advice. They'll ask me for prayer. And I'll be honest with you, like the thought in the back of my head almost every time is, why are you asking me? Like, who am I? I always think like, where's the adult? Where's the grown up here? Like, I don't. So for me, this is an issue when it comes to like this idea that I'll figure the whole finance stuff out later when I'm an adult. I don't feel like an adult, so when's it going to be? So the question that I got to ask, I want to get us started with is, if your financial house is not in order yet, then I want you to answer this honestly, not out loud, but to yourself. When are we going to do this? Right? Well, when are we actually going to figure this out? Like what are you waiting for? When are we going to actually take it seriously, stop making excuses, and really start making progress, like the kind of progress you want to make with your finances? Or the better question would be, why not now? Why not right now? Why not today? Why don't we just get going? If you haven't really started this yet, started this journey of managing money in a healthy way, why not today? Why not right now? And this is why I'm so happy that we're doing this series, because I know for many people, like the biggest hang up for actually accomplishing what they want to accomplish with their money is that they were just never taught how to manage money well. They were just never taught, or what they were taught was a little complicated or overwhelming, and so it was so off-putting, and so they're just like, I'm just going to roll the dice and do whatever and hope it all works out, because the only model that they had was something that was so confusing that they couldn't even follow it if they wanted to. But this is why I love what we're talking about these last couple of weeks, because God does have a lot to say about money. We've said this every week. He says more about money. Jesus says more about money than he does about heaven and hell combined. God has a lot of advice to give when it comes to our money. And the thing I love about it most is that it's so simple. Which means it's so doable. Like, it's simple enough that literally anyone can do this and start making real progress almost immediately. Like, you can start today and actually start seeing results just about right away. So there should be no reason why we can't get going today. But as we've talked about so far in the series, action takers are the difference makers. right? Action takers are difference makers. It does not matter how great the advice you get is. It does not matter how credible or competent the source of the advice comes from. It doesn't matter how simple or doable the advice is. It doesn't matter how divine the advice is. If you don't take it and actually do it, if you don't apply it, if I don't apply it, it's not going to change anything. Nothing will change in our life, and we won't actually make progress, which is why my challenge for you throughout this series has been, will you please, 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 please do something with what you hear. Do something with the advice that God gives, even if it's just for 90 days. Challenge yourself. For 90 days, I'm going to put these things into practice in my life and see what happens. You have very little to lose, but you have so much to gain. So, good? Yeah? Can you do something with what you hear? I hope that you will, because I'm just speaking from personal experience. I think it can revolutionize your financial world for the better. So up to this point, I'll do a quick recap. We've talked about 2 of the game-changing tips that God gives us in terms of our finances. The first being to keep track of everything. Keep track of everything, which may seem basic, which may seem simple, but it's actually not. And the reason why I know that this isn't simple is because most people I talk to don't do it, right? Including me for many years. If it were simple, we'd all do it. But the truth is, it's not. But it's so, so, so important. If you just simply pay attention to your finances, you will automatically get better at managing them every time, just by paying attention. And the reason why is because of something called Pearson's Law, that when performance is measured, performance improves. This is why scales exist, stopwatches exist, grading systems exist. Because when you actually start tracking and paying attention and measuring performance, you will automatically get better. Because you'll know how to get better, you'll know how to pivot, you'll know what to change. So the idea here is to write down every single transaction that you make, however you'd like. It could be on a notepad, it could be in a note app, it could be in a money app, whatever. It's just to write down every transaction that you make and then categorize it. And if you're just getting started with this, you can make it robust if you want, but if you're just getting started, I just recommended 4 simple categories so we don't get overwhelmed. Bills, eating, shopping, and miscellaneous. Just 4 categories. Bills, eating, shopping, and miscellaneous. Right? So when you buy those new shoes that you've been wanting to buy for so long, you finally make that purchase, all you do is you write it down. Again, however you want, but you write down shoes from, where do you buy shoes from? I don't know. Payless? Is that still a thing? Payless? DSW, Macy's, okay. Amazon, I skip mine on Amazon. Amazon, and then you write shoes from Amazon, and then however much it was. When you pay your Wi-Fi bill, you just write internet, however much it was. And you pay for your dog food, dog treats, miscellaneous. You categorize it. Shopping, bills, miscellaneous, whatever it might be. When you do this, you'll be able to get a snapshot of where your money is going. So every week, if you were to check this out every week or bi-weekly or once a month, probably not enough, but you check it, and every time you do, you'll be able to see how much money you're eating, how much money you're wearing, how much money you're drinking, how much money you're watching, how much money you're doing, whatever it is you do with your money. And I'm telling you, you don't need a budget. I mean, having a budget eventually is really good, but you don't need a budget to get started doing this. All you have to do is just simply write down what you spend. That's it. And when you do, it'll change things for you. I know this because this is what happened to Emily and I. I told you, I'm on this journey with you. I might be a few steps ahead if you're just getting started. But Emily and I began back in January 2025. We really started to take this seriously. We started tracking, and I'd already told you this. As we were tracking, we realized that we were spending an ungodly amount of money on eating out. Like a crazy amount. And I had all the excuses, right? All the reasons that you would think, well, we're really busy. All right, busy Long Islanders. We're at church a lot. We're doing groups all throughout the week. We're not home, so how can we cook? So we're eating out a lot. In our house, I like to affectionately refer to our apartment as the Hobbit hole. Okay, it's in a basement apartment, low ceilings. So you just try to fry an egg, and the smoke alarms are going off. Beep, 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 beep. So I'm like, oh, we can't cook in our kitchen, so we'll eat out. The other reason, the biggest one, is we're church planters. We started a church, right? And that's a very social job, and we wanted to get to know as many people as possible. And so we would, because our apartment is so small, like I literally sleep next to the fridge. Right? Our apartment isn't very conducive to entertaining. So when you would normally say, hey, come to my house and let's hang out, we were like, we don't really have that option. So instead we're like, hey, let's go out. So we would take people out, and then we would feel obligated. We would pay for a lot of people, so we were spending so much money eating out. I mean, like just so much, but we didn't know it. I mean, I knew we were spending a lot, but I did not know exactly how much we were spending until we started paying attention, until we started tracking. And once we did, and I saw the numbers, I was like, oh my gosh, that is way too much. And so I was inspired. I didn't feel guilted. I didn't feel manipulated. I wasn't locked in by a budget. It wasn't out of necessity. I felt inspired to make a change. Just by tracking, just by seeing the number, I was like, yep, I don't want that to be the case next month. So we're going to make a change. And Emily was right there with me. And I'm telling you, as a result, all right, I don't know how this lands with you, but for us, this is pretty significant. As a result of just tracking, we saved $15,000 more this year than we did last year just from tracking, because all of our money is not going to Chick-fil-A anymore or Taco Bell, right? But it wasn't just the eating out, though. I mean, we started looking at all these categories. We're like, whoa, we don't need to be spending that much with our bills. Like, we can cut some stuff there. We can cut some stuff in all these places, and it was really, really helpful. So this might be all you need to really make some significant changes, but you have to do it, right? You actually have to do it. So that's the first advice we talked about. Keep track of everything, 100%. Then the second piece of God-given advice we talked about last week was this: don't keep 100% of what you receive. If you make $100 a week, the idea here is to not keep all of it, but instead to give a portion of it away. Why? Because money is like fire. Fire is neutral. It's neither good nor bad. Money is neutral. It's neither good nor bad. See, the thing about fire is it could be good if it's in the proper places. It could be bad if it's in improper places, right? If fire is in a controlled environment like a fireplace or a candle, I mean, it could bring light and warmth and do endless amounts of good for people. But you take that same fire and put it in a coal mine where it doesn't belong, it can do so much destruction, endless amounts of destruction, not just to the coal mine itself, but to the whole town above. We looked at a story about that last week, which was fascinating. If you missed last week, you should really go back and watch that on demand. But money is just like fire. It's neutral. And Jesus implies in many of his teachings that our hearts are like a coal mine. And that if our heart becomes consumed with money, if our life and our priorities are all geared in the direction of, I got to get more money, make more money, I need more money, worried about money, it's all about money, 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 money. If our heart becomes consumed with money, then who we were made to be, the child of God that we were made to be, the child of God who God wants to have a fulfilling and satisfied and joyful life, who we're made to be will be lost if our heart becomes consumed with money. Every time. And not only that, not only will the coal mine of our heart be set ablaze and it'll be ruined, but the people around us will suffer as well. So God tells us to give, and to give generously, because generosity is what keeps money from consuming our heart. And I'm just telling you from personal experience and from the experience I've seen in so many other people's lives, people who live this way, they have way more peace, way more purpose, and way more joy in life, because they stop looking for peace, purpose, and joy in their stuff and in a number in their bank account, and they start to find it where it's supposed to be found, in God and in the things of God. And if that doesn't make any sense to you, if that seems far-fetched to you, I don't know how to convince you of this other than to say, just try it. Just give it a try. Again, you have very little to lose, but you have so much to gain. So that was last week. So if we dived really deep into that last week, I hope that you go back and watch if you didn't catch it then. Today, I want to look at one more piece of game-changing money advice that God gives, and that is, don't spend 100% of what you keep. See, the first is keep track of everything. The second is don't keep 100% of what you receive. But the last piece of advice is don't spend 100% of what you keep. That is, if you get paid $100 a week, and let's say you give 10% of it away, and you're left with $90, the advice that God would give is don't spend all $90, right? Instead, set aside a portion and save it for the future. See, in each part of this series, we have looked at a proverb. There's a whole section of the Bible, a whole book of the Bible in the Old Testament called Proverbs. And this is an entire book of the Bible that's basically dedicated to like one-liners. It's very cool. In other words, if the Bible was a meal, the book of Proverbs would be like the dessert, because it's like a book of fortune cookies. Very, very cool. All these like one-liners jam-packed with all this wisdom. So I want to show you one of these one-liners that it like makes the most clear, that's the most clear version of this advice that God gives, to not spend 100% of what we keep. So this is Proverbs 21, verse 20. The proverb writer says this: The wise have wealth and luxury. The wise have wealth and luxury. Now, be honest, okay? It's okay. This is not a trick question, and I want you to know that my hand is up too. How many of you, hands up, how many of you would like to have wealth and luxury? Okay? Some of you are nervous. You still think it's a trick question. It's not a trick question, all right? You think, well, I'm in church. I'm supposed to be meek and humble. I can't want wealth and luxury. No, it's okay. I honestly, I think you should want wealth and luxury. In fact, I think I could make the case that it would be selfish of followers of Jesus to not want wealth and luxury. And just hear my heart in this. If you have a healthy relationship with money, the way God teaches us to, if you don't elevate money to something that it's never supposed to, if money hasn't consumed your heart, right, then you see it for what it is. It's a tool. It's a tool to be used. And followers of Jesus should want to have as much of that tool as possible because then they can help more people, right? The more you make, the more you can give, right, if you follow God's advice. If you make $100 a week and you give 10%, that's $10 a week. All of a sudden, if your salary doubles and you make $200 a week, and you still give 10%, now you're giving $20 a week. The more we earn, the more we can give. So it's not a bad thing to have wealth and luxury. What makes it bad is if that money, that desire for money, gets into our heart and infects our heart. But if it doesn't, then yeah, I mean, this would be great. I think all followers of Jesus should be able to have tons of wealth and luxury because this whole world would be such a better place because the followers of Jesus would be giving so much of it away. But wealth and luxury does not happen by accident. The proverb writer makes it clear. It's the wise. The wise are the ones who have wealth and luxury. Right? So if we want to actually have real wealth, we first have to become wise. If you want to have real wealth, you have to be a person who is wise. So let's pause for a second, and let's just take a moment to make sure we're all on the same page in terms of what wisdom actually is. You see, Proverbs and really the entire Old and New Testament teach us all about wisdom. It's almost like the whole point of the Bible is to instill wisdom in you and instill wisdom in me. And as you discover everything that Scripture has to say about wisdom, it's really clear that in order to be wise, you and I need to become a person that truly lives as if life is connected. As if life is connected. Meaning like this moment and this day, it is connected to every other day. That the decisions that I make today will impact my tomorrow. That the decisions I make today will impact my next week and next month and next year and maybe even for decades to come. That's what wisdom is. At its simplest level, this is what it means to be wise, to understand that what I do right now will impact who I become and who I am later. That I don't live in a vacuum. That the decisions I make today will ultimately have lasting effects. And this doesn't just apply to finances, by the way. I mean, this is true of all areas of life, right? That the decisions you make today in terms of your relationships, your education, your work, your faith, the decisions I make today will determine who I become tomorrow. So, back to the proverb. The proverb writer says, the wise have wealth and luxury. Those who understand this, that life is connected, those are the ones who will have wealth and luxury. And this is a promise that he makes. It's a promise. And it's just a given. It's just what happens. It's like you were to say, those who live on Long Island are tired. It just comes with it, right? You live on Long Island and you're exhausted. Those who have multiple children are exhausted. It comes with the territory. Those who go into the ocean are wet. Those who are wise will have wealth and luxury. It's a promise. This is what happens. And then he continues on with a warning. And this is a warning that clues us in to why so many people don't have wealth and luxury. He goes on to say, the wise have wealth and luxury, but fools spend whatever they get. The wise have wealth and luxury, but fools, fools. What's a fool? It's a person who's not wise. It's a person who does not live as if life is connected. It's a person who lives as if the decision I make today, who cares about what happens tomorrow? Who cares about how it affects my future? I'm going to do it anyway. Foolish people, as a result, spend 100% of what they have. Foolish people spend whatever they have, and they suffer the consequences for it. So how do we become this wise person that has wealth and luxury? Well, the answer is pretty simple when you kind of follow the logic here. Well, we don't want to be a fool, so a fool spends everything they have. So to be wise, we can't be a fool, which means, well, to be wise, don't spend 100% of what you keep. You want to become a wise person? In terms of your finances, don't spend 100% of what you keep ever. Ever, ever, ever. Whether you have a lot or a little. Does not matter how much your income is. Does not matter how much you have. A wise person does not spend 100% of what they have. If you do, you will suffer the consequences of a fool, of somebody who does spend 100% of what they have. And you don't want to do that. Trust me. When you read about fools, again, in Proverbs and in the Old and New Testament, I mean, there are people who are broke. There are people who live with regret. There are people who are lazy and ignorant and stubborn and prideful and greedy and a whole bunch of other stuff that nobody ever wants to be associated with. So it's best not to be a fool. It's better to work our way to becoming a person who is wise. Yet, so many people end up in that category of doing what a fool would do, of spending everything that they have. And so I was thinking about this, and I'm like, why does that happen? And I'm right there with you. I mean, I've been this way for a long time. Just spend it all. Why, though? Why does that happen? Now, I could think of three main reasons. There might be more, but I could think of three main reasons why somebody might spend 100% of what they have. Number one, we have to. Number two, we're just not at peace with where we're at. Or number three, we're waiting. And I think number one is probably the rarest of all. Like, this does happen, but I think it's rare. There are people out there who are like, I have to spend everything I have. I have to live paycheck to paycheck in order to make ends meet. Or maybe like I'm not even able to make ends meet even when I do spend everything I have. And I think that does happen every now and then. But if you follow God's advice here and you really do the tracking thing and you actually pay attention to what you're spending, you will probably figure out pretty quickly that some changes need to be made, some downsizing maybe needs to happen, some pausing of different subscriptions or whatever might need to happen so that you can more live within what the means that you have. So if you actually do that part right, you should be able to make this work. But on super rare occasions, yeah, sometimes you have to spend everything you have. Most people would like to say that that's why they spend that much, but it's really just an excuse. I think what's more likely and what happens more often is that we're just not at peace. The reason why people spend 100% of what they have, if we're being honest, is we're just not at peace with where we're at. This is what happens. This is what happens when you feel like you need to increase your stuff in order to increase your happiness. You ever been there before? You ever feel like, in order for me to be happy, I just got to have that thing, whatever it might be. People will even go into debt for this. They won't just spend 100% of what they have. They'll spend more. They'll spend 105%, 110%. They'll go use credit cards and debt and just to get that one thing. Why? Because they feel like they need to in order to finally be at peace. If I just had those shoes, then I'd be happy. If I just had that experience, if I just went on vacation, then maybe I'll finally be at peace. If I just bought that car, I know we need a car, but I don't know. I know I may not need that much car, but I want that much car, and I feel like if I had that much car with all that extra bells and whistles, then I'll be happy. If I just had that bigger home, even though I can't afford it, then I'll be happy. Right? Overspending. This is what the result of it is. Overspending happens when someone is looking for more peace. They're looking for more contentment. They're looking for something more than what they already have. And again, I'm right there with you. I've been this way with guitars. I like to play guitar. And so many times in my life, I would get a guitar and I would think, I'll never want another guitar in my life. This is the best guitar ever. I'm finally happy, right? And then what happens? Like a day later, I'm like, whoa, what about that guitar? I got to have that guitar now. And now I'm not happy anymore. It happens to all of us, right? But at the end of the day, it's important to note this. Overspending is not a math problem or a budget problem, because that's often what I like to tell myself. Well, if I just figured out the right formula, if I just had the right budget, then I could fix this. Then I could make this right. Then everything would be okay with my finances. But the problem is we know the math, don't we? You know the math. It's simple subtraction. You spend 100% of what you make, you're going to have nothing left over. You and I already know the math. And I guarantee you've probably tried the budgeting thing before. If you don't already budget right now, you've probably at some point in your life tried. Why didn't it work? Well, because overspending is not really a budget problem, and it's not really a math problem. If it were, it would be easy. My job would be super easy right now. I could just stand up here and say, oh, some of you guys are overspending? Some of you are spending 100% of what you make. Oh, here's the solution. Stop it. Don't do that anymore. Okay, let's say a prayer together. All right. Wouldn't that be great if that were the case? In fact, this would be the answer to pretty much everything. Oh, here, you keep flipping people off? Stop it. You keep cursing people off? Stop. Wouldn't that be great? But most of it is deeper. And this is the issue with overspending. The problem isn't that we overspend. The problem is, and this is hard to hear, but it's true. The problem is we have low joy, or we have low self-worth, or we have low contentment. And we think that buying things will give us a boost in joy, will give us a boost in our self-worth, will give us a boost in our contentment. And here's what's so tricky about this and makes this so hard. The truth is it does, right? You do feel good after buying that thing that you really want. I do feel good once I get that new guitar for like a day. And that's the issue here. You get a dopamine hit, and then it wears off, but you forget that it wears off. And so you try to get that dopamine hit again by buying something else that maybe you can't afford. And here's what needs to be learned by all of us, me included, that our reliance on things and experiences to make us happy is like an appetite. It's never fully and finally satisfied. What happens when you get hungry? Like, I'm hungry. So you go to the fridge or you go to the cabinet and you eat something and you feel good, right? For like a few hours, or for some of us for like a few minutes. And then you're like, dang it, I'm hungry again. So what do? You go back to the fridge and you feel good. And then you're hungry again. And appetite's never fully and finally satisfied. Satisfied for moments, but not fully and finally. And this is the same when it comes to spending or overspending, spending in order to boost our happiness. It'll never be fully and finally satisfied. It never was supposed to be. Now, if you struggle with this, I want you to know I get that. I'm right there with you. And I also want you to know you're normal. This is very human to have that kind of a struggle. But it can't stay that way. You have to change for your own good. I have to change for my own good, because otherwise we'll just be stuck in this cycle and we'll never be able to get out. And so this is a whole message for another day, but let me just give you what I think is at least the first step to a solution here. If you just continually have to go to more stuff in order to feel good, the solution to this really is to go before your Heavenly Father in prayer. It doesn't have to be complicated. And to just ask God to help you be content with what you have. Just to go to God and say, God, like, I got a problem here. Would you help me find joy in you? Would you help me find contentment in you? Would you help me find my self-worth, not in my stuff, but in who you say I am? And you. If you're familiar with AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, I think that program is incredible. It's helped millions of people, and I think the steps are amazing, and they're so beneficial, not just for that program, but they're beneficial in life in general. You know, the first step is to admit that you have a problem. And so if overspending is a thing for you, the first step really is just to be honest, like, yep, I got this problem. Yep, when I hit seasons of low joy, low self-worth, I tend to go to the stuff to try to fill that need. Admit you have a problem. The second step in AA is to submit that problem to a higher power, to recognize that I can't solve this in and of myself. I don't have what it takes. I need God's help with this. And I think that's the first step to moving beyond this, is to just go before your Father in heaven and say, God, help me find my contentment, my joy, my worth in you. And I have seen God make this happen over and over again, even in my own life. But he will require you to do some work in it. Action takers are difference makers. All right? Knowing isn't going to change anything. It's the doing that changes things. And the work that he will ask of you is what we talked about last week. The part that you play is to try to is to give. It is to not keep 100% of what you have, because part of the problem is money has consumed your heart, or money has consumed my heart. So that's the part that we play. But again, we talked about that in depth last week, so make sure you go back and watch last week if you haven't. So finally, if you are like me, you may not spend money because you have to, and you may not spend money because you're not at peace. Perhaps the reason why you spend money is because you're waiting. Again, I'm waiting until I become an adult. I'm just going to do whatever I want with my money now, but when I become an adult, then I'll finally get the whole money thing figured out, right? Or maybe you might be tempted to justify your overspending because your thought might, this is a very common one, your thought might be, when I make more money, then it'll be easier not to spend all my money. So I'm just waiting until I make more money, till I finally get that raise, till I finally get that bonus check, whatever it might be. But let me hit you with a harsh reality, okay? Did you know that more money doesn't make you more wise? And I know it's not proper English, but I wanted it to be pithy, so I wrote it that way. More money doesn't make you more wise. More money does not make you wiser. More money makes you more of what you already are. You get more money and it'll just enhance where you're already at. So if you spend 100% of what you make right now, adding more money will likely not help. I mean, just think about it. At one point in your life, you probably made less than you do now. And then all of a sudden you started making more, you're spending more. You're spending it all still. Why? Because more money doesn't make it better. If your heart is already poisoned, if you already have bad habits, those are going to travel with you into the future. Let's take Mike Tyson as an example. You familiar with Mike Tyson? The boxer. He bit the guy's ear off. To me, what's even more fascinating than his hunger for human flesh is that did you know that he made over $400 million in his career? I can't even fathom that kind of money. He made over $400 million. And yet, if you think that anybody should be living a life of wealth and luxury, it would be a person who makes $400 million, right? Yet, he went bankrupt in 2003 with $23 million in debt. He spent $423 million, right? Like, how do you not live a life of wealth and luxury with that kind of money? I'll tell you how. You spend it all. You spend 100% of what you make. Mike Tyson had a $2 million golden bathtub. He was taking baths in style. $2 million for his bathtub. He had 3 Bengal tigers worth about $70K each. He had 110 luxury vehicles and a whole bunch of other things. And I'm not telling you this because I'm mad about that. I'm not mad about that. I don't think that's a problem at all. I mean, he should be able to spend his money on whatever the heck he wants to spend his money on. He worked hard for that. The problem is, not my problem, but the problem for him is he spent all of it. He spent 100% of it and more. He spent more than 100% of what he made. And I say this because I imagine if you're like me, you probably would look at a story like that or look at an example like that and be like, I would never do that. I would never do that. I would never spend that much. Maybe. Did you know that 1 in 3 lottery winners will lose everything within the first 3 to 5 years? Like most people who get more money, the more money doesn't change their spending habits, just enhances whatever their habits are. Why? How does this happen? It's because overspending is not a math problem. Overspending is a heart problem. Overspending is not a math problem. It's not a budget problem. It is a heart problem. So if you overspend with a little right now or with wherever you're at right now, you will likely overspend with a lot. If you get a windfall, if you win the lottery, if you get a pay bump, you're probably still going to continue on with that habit because, one more time, because I really want to emphasize this, more money doesn't make you more wise. And wisdom is what leads to wealth and luxury. More money doesn't make you more wise, though. More money just makes you more of what you already are. So, I think the best thing that you and I can do is to take God's advice seriously here. I think the best thing that we can do is start today, is start implementing wisdom in our finances today, no matter what they look like. Because I do hope that there comes a time in your life when you do get a huge raise, when you do get a high-paying job, when you do win the lottery, when you do get a big inheritance. But that day will likely be useless and not helpful if you're already spending 100% of what you make. That day won't help you unless you're already wired to manage money wisely. Make sense? Okay, so here's like how you can do this. Here's how I can do this. It's actually really quite simple. And I think this will work no matter what kind of income you have. All you have to do to not spend 100% of what you make is pre-decide exactly what percentage of your income you're going to live on. That's what it takes. You just have to pre-decide, make a decision today about how much you're going to live on tomorrow. how much you're going to live on next week, how much you're going to live on per paycheck. Because, I don't know if you know this, but every single person lives on a percentage of their income. Did you know that? You live on a certain percentage of your income. We all do. But the problem is, for people who don't pre-decide what they're going to live on, they will likely default to living on 100% or more. If you don't pre-decide, I'm going to live on this amount, you will probably live on all of it or more of it. But here's something that maybe nobody's ever told you. You don't have to do that. Do you know that? You are actually in charge of how much of your money you will live on. You can live on 50% of your income. You can do it. It might be tight, it might be tough, but you can do that. You can live on 70%, 10%, I don't know. It depends on your situation. But this is what wise people do. They pre-decide to not live on 100%, instead to live on a certain other pre-decided percentage. They take God seriously. And they would tell you to do the same. They would look at you and they would look at me and say, don't spend 100% of what you keep. If you want to have wealth and luxury, which you should, want this, don't spend 100% of what you keep. And as a result, they save something every single time they get paid. Just even if it's just a little bit. They make sure they never get in the habit of spending it all. They save something every single time. And to live a life of wealth and luxury. So, the wise have wealth and luxury. The fools spend whatever they have. And there you have it. The 3 game-changing tips from God. Number 1, keep track of everything, 100%. Number 2, don't keep 100% of what you receive. And number 3, don't spend 100% of what you keep. So as we conclude the series, I want to give you really quickly, my practical recommendation for how to put this whole thing in place, okay? And the good news is, again, it's so simple. It's so easy to do. You can start doing it today. It just starts with your priorities. It just starts with making some adjustments and reprioritizing some things. You see, most Americans, you want to know how most Americans manage their money? This is how most Americans manage their money. They get paid, and then they live on as much of that paycheck as they can. This is what they spend on their, on their bills, on their shopping, on their eating, on their whatever that comes their way. Then, if they have anything left over, then they might save some. Maybe, right? Might put it in a savings account, investments, piggy bank, cash under the mattress, whatever. Then maybe, just maybe, if they get some goosebumps maybe in church, or they get a fuzzy feeling when they see a commercial or see somebody holding a sign, maybe if they get kind of feeling and they have anything left over, they might give. This is how most Americans arrange their finances. They live first, they save second, then they give third. But if you want to take God's advice seriously, if you really want to follow Jesus with how you manage money, if you want to be an action taker, if you want to be a wise person financially, all you have to do is start keeping track of all your transactions and then do what I like to call flip the script. Flip the script. Rather than live first, save second, and give last, you give first, save second, and live on the rest. You pre-decide. Every time I get paid, I'm giving this percentage away, I'm saving this percentage, and I'm going to live on this percentage every time. And I'm going to give you my recommendation of what I think those percentages should be. You may need to tweak them for your situation, but I think the percentages I give you, I just think, and what do I know? But I think that this is what everybody should at least work their way toward. I think that this will be the most helpful. You should work your way toward this, but if you need to tweak it at first, that's okay. Here's what my recommendation is. Every time you get paid, I think you should give 10%, you should save 20%, and you should live on 70%. And I just get a quick disclaimer. I'm not saying give 10% to local church. You can if you want, but if you think I'm just saying this because I'm trying to manipulate you, you hear me say this all the time, go give somewhere else, all right? I don't care. But this is what I think you should do. These are the percentages I think you should actually apply to your finances. And again, maybe you can't start here. Maybe right now you need to start with giving 5%, saving 5%, and living on 90. Or maybe it needs to be even lower than that, 1%, and 98, whatever, but you should work your way to this. Perhaps you might even be in a position where you can do more than this. For you, and what it would take to keep the fire, to keep the money out of your heart, would be giving a higher percentage. You know there's such thing as reverse tithers? There are people who literally give 90% of their income away and only live on 10%. Isn't that crazy? Emily and I are fantasize, one day maybe that could be us. That'd be amazing. How cool would it be to give that much away? How many people could you help at that point? But I don't know what your situation is. You got to figure that out yourself. This is where you and God get together and be like, hey, God, what percentages do you want me to start with? And then I'm going to work my way toward this. No matter how tight money is, please, I'm begging you, would you please do this? At least try this. Again, even if it's just for the next 90 days, just commit to never, ever, ever keeping and never, ever, ever spending 100% of what you make. Even if you're only going to give 0.5% or 0.1% or save 0.1%, just start building the habit now that I don't spend 100% of what I have and I don't keep 100% of what I make. Just build that habit now, because it will be so worth it as time goes on and you do get raises and you do win the lottery or whatever it is that happens to you. You will already have that habit that wise people have, and you will get to experience a life of wealth and luxury. You'll get to see wealth, not just in terms of finances. You know, there's a lot of ways to have wealth. You'll get to see wealth accumulate in the kingdom of God through your giving. You'll get to see wealth accumulate in your future and in your kids' futures through your savings. So please do this. Please at least try it for the next 90 days, not for my sake, but for yours, and see what God does. So as we close with the series, I want you to leave today really believing that God can transform your finances, really believing that your financial future really doesn't have to look like your financial past. It doesn't have to look like your financial present even. Now, again, I don't know where you are with money. Perhaps it's a struggle. And if it's a struggle right now, I get that. But you don't have to stay stuck. And you aren't too late to make a change. It's never too late to make a change. All you have to do is take a step today. All you have to do is actually apply something today. Start right now. God has already given us the plan. Keep track of everything. Don't keep 100% of what you receive, and don't spend 100% of what you keep. If you'll take these simple steps seriously and actually do them, even if it's just for the next 90 days, I am convinced that you'll look back and say, that right there, that day when I started to take this seriously, that is when everything started to change. Because this is what Emily and I could do. We look back to January like that, when we really took this seriously, that's when everything started to change for us. Now, if you'd like a little bit more help with this, if you want to dive a little deeper into this, Emily and I are putting together a little workshop. We're calling it Manage Money the Easy Way workshop. Again, we don't know everything, and we're not the financial experts, but we have been doing this past year, and so we want to share even more of what we learned with you. I just couldn't fit it all into this series, and so if you want to ask questions or, again, dive a little bit deeper, Tuesday, December 9th. Tuesday, December 9th is when we're doing this. It's going to be right here, probably 6:30 to 8:30. Just register. You can scan the QR code. You can tap the top 3 tag in front of you. You can just go to localchurchli.com/events, find it, register, let us know you're coming so we have enough resources for you. But we'll dive even deeper into this whole thing, and Emily and I will share the exact system that we use that's been better for us than anything else we've ever done in the last 20 years. So make sure you mark that date on your calendar. All right, it has been a joy talking about this with you for the last 3 weeks, but I am super excited to jump into Christmas mode. Any Christmas people out there excited for Christmas mode? Yes, so make sure you don't miss next week as we kick off the Christmas season right here, same time, same place. Let me say a prayer with you. Heavenly Father, thank you so much again, just that you have never left us empty-handed. But God, you've poured out so much of your wisdom to us through the Old and New Testament, through the Proverbs, through the words of Jesus, God. Thank you that we don't have to navigate the seemingly complex world of finances on our own, but God, we get to have you by our side every single step of the way. And so I pray right now, no matter how this lands with those in the room, those who are watching, I pray right now that you give us the wisdom to know what to do with what we just heard. Would you help us know what steps we need to take? Help us pre-decide, even right now before we leave, pre-decide what it looks like. What our financial future will look like in terms of what we give, what we save, what we live on. Would you just kind of speak to us? And God, more than that, would you give us the courage, the strength, the faith, whatever it is that we need to actually do it, to take action so that we can see a difference being made, not just in our own lives, but God, in the lives of those around us, in the lives of those that we get to be a blessing to through the resources that you have given us. And I pray that as we follow you in every area of life, but especially with our finances, I pray that other people would be benefited through that. They would be helped through that. And as a result, they would be inspired to follow you too. And that you would be honored through it. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Well, hey, I want to thank you so much for spending this time with us. And before you go, I would love for you to consider engaging with local church in 3 additional ways. The first is to fill out a Connect card. No matter where you are in the world, we would love for you to do this. It'll only take you about 30 seconds, and it's just an easy way for us to get to know you a bit more and to serve you better, and for you to get to know us a little better as well. Just click the link in the description to get started. The second way that you can engage with local church is by visiting us in person. If you're local and you don't regularly participate in a church community, we would love to invite you to join us every Sunday. Resources like this can do a lot for our faith personally, but Jesus teaches that God does something unique for our faith when we choose to gather corporately. Click the link in the description to plan your visit. And finally, if you've been positively impacted by local church in any way, would you consider making a tax-deductible donation? Content like this, along with everything that goes on around here, is only made possible by the generosity of people just like you. You can click the link in the description or visit localchurchli.com/give. So, once again, thank you so much. We hope that you found this content helpful and inspiring, and we're so honored to be a part of your faith journey.